Okay, so my question was, so CVS is up for the first time, I think since we bought it. This is the first week I've seen it
She
in the black.
knows. She's so into this.
And so leave me alone. So this is a slightly two-parter question. So is that a real thing? Like, is it actually up, or is it just a result of the market being in an upswing at the moment? And should we hold it or just give it up and put that money somewhere else?
All right.
Like Matt would know.
Well,
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna
I
actually.
say this at all of our meetings.
I, now I'm curious what you think, Damien, first before I answer the question.
Uh, I think these are. I just think they're ridiculous questions. I mean, no, I appreciate why you want to know, Emma. You're not ridiculous. I just think in general,
No,
predicting the market is absolutely
It
ridiculous.
is. It's
That's why
absolutely ridiculous.
I'm fascinated to hear what Matt has to say, but mostly I'm pissed that I can't get my smokes at CVS anymore.
okay, so there's two things I like about this question. The first is that you asked if it was real, um, because that's the best question to ask of
Yeah,
any stock
anything in life,
performance of
really.
any kind. Damien spent pre-production asking if any of us were real or just figments of his imagination. So
Mm.
at this
Matt,
point, Zoom culture.
I saw fur-lined neo-Nazis smashing into the U.S. Capitol, and you question my question what's real
I
anymore?
don't question anything anymore.
Okay.
I just exist like you do.
And can I just interrupt for one more second? That group of people proves beyond a reasonable doubt, without any shred of doubt, that my position of the let women run everything is the way to go.
Yeah,
Did you see that group? Did you see that group of people, Matt?
they did manage to kill the one woman who was in it, though.
All right, sorry. Keep going.
So first, here's what an actual advisor might say to that question: like, is it real? They might say something, and I did a bunch of pre-research on this. So CVS is now distributing vaccines to nursing homes, so that's a big opportunity that's rolling out now. They might say something about how them being up reflects that. That revenue stream is likely to last a whole year. Analysts have been predicting, the sell side analysts, like, so when I say sell side analysts, I mean jerk offs at places like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley who think
Ooh,
they
that's
understand everything.
harsh.
Um,
Harsh.
they might say things like, they're predicting a rebound. Actually, they have price targets that are above where CVS is trading. After posting a loss last quarter, they're predicting earnings growth over the next few quarters. And now the stock is trading at like a 12 price to earnings, which is below average. Most stocks trade somewhere like 20. So that means there might be room to grow. There's not many investors who are selling it short, so they like the stock. It pays a dividend. They might say your one caution flag is long-term debt because there's a lot of it. But overall, they might say things like that and say, like, so your gains are legitimate gains based on all these factors that we know. I think
Well, they got
most
to
of
say
that.
something.
There is some truth, and some of those things are real, but in another, possibly more accurate sense, that's a lot of bullshit make believe. I think the analyst targets are make believe numbers. Price to earnings is like a bullshit meter. It's basically like, how much more are we willing to pay for this company than it actually earns? And you get a company like Tesla that didn't make any money. People were willing to pay for it, and it was negative, right? Like, so it made no money. So those numbers tend to be fictitious. It's really a measure of sort of euphoria in some ways. Um, and in this case, actually, a lot of investors don't like CVS. The CEO of CVS had a whopping, and Damien, it just confirmed that this is whopping, 24% approval for his say on pay in 2020.
That's it.
24%, yes.
Wow, that's pretty shocking.
So
That
76% of the vote went against
that's
the
amazing.
CEO.
That's a rabidly angry shareholder group there.
Mm.
How bad? What year was this?
This was for last proxy. They haven't filed their proxy for this year, so we don't know what it's going to be. But that's
Okay.
that was the pay. That was a 2020 vote.
Not to that, of course, in America, that changes nothing. That's not a binding vote. It's
Yeah,
just
the awesome part was the in the results that CVS announced, they said shareholders approved the measure because it's an advisory vote. They don't have to say they don't. It doesn't matter.
Welcome to America.
They just said 76% of people don't like this. Well, measure approved. That's how that worked.
I gotta say, this is one of the areas where I'm most let down with all of the professionals in the ESG world, that they sit on their hands on this one issue. They fight for a lot, but they don't fight for this to be binding. Like they should be like, stamping their feet and whatever they do when they get mad. What do they do when they get mad? They throw their leather attaché case. I don't know what they do.
There's nothing more socialist than what you just said. Congratulations.
Wow.
But it is a big deal. That also worth saying, just as a side note, that more than 20% of investors voted for an independent chair here, which in the U.S. is effectively like asking a CEO to get a babysitter. Every CEO is also chair in the U.S. Having independent chairs is usually only done when everyone thinks you're terrible and need a babysitter. And then there's this other small issue that's more of a long-term issue, but I guess is a tiny issue called the opioid crisis, which also exists. At the end of 2020, West Virginia sued CVS and Walmart for distribution of opioids. There are class action lawsuits still outstanding. So the question, getting back to your question, is this real? The first part of the question, is this real? It's awesome. Because the answer to me is almost always no. I agree with Damion. It's almost always no. It's not real. There's nothing's real. The stocks are like religions. It's as real as long as people believe in it, and they throw money at it, and at some point it becomes the Greek gods instead of Jesus Christ. Whatever. It's as real as you believe. The second part that I like about this question is that you asked, is it going back down again? And that sums up basically what every investor in the entire universe wants to know. Can you just tell me, is this going up or is this going down? Could you just tell me that, and then I'll invest.
Insider trading is helpful that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only that's pretty much it. The only way I can answer that question is if I have information that you don't have, and I'm an insider, and then I will know whether or not it's going to go up or down. So anyone who tells you that the stock's going to go up or going to go down is a con artist selling you something.
Like I just did with Moderna and Beyond Meat.
Well, exactly. That's why I like that. Damion actually made a prediction, because this is the blowhard index, and that's what we do here.
Well, I just know they're going up.
Yeah, but to wrap it up, you said, should we give it up? Like, effectively, you're a little bit asking my advice here, and as your fake financial advisor, investing my real money in your stupid ideas. I would say, if it were me, I wouldn't buy the stock. I wouldn't own the stock. And for this reason alone, Larry Merlo, the CEO, forget that no one likes his pay. Forget that investors are starting to think he needs a babysitter. He literally looks like forget that for a moment. He looks like every drunk uncle you've ever seen in your entire life. He looked like
I've seen a few.
Yeah, he stepped out of like a John Hughes 80s Central Casting drunk uncle.
I gotta look at this guy.
So
very, very accurate.
He looks like he's like clammy in the summer. Like he's got that look to him. And
careful,
CVS,
he's from Rhode Island.
I know.
Due to his clamminess, you're saying this is a no-go.
Well, CVS, their super PAC, the CVS PAC, was one of Trump's largest supporters in 2018. So you have your clammy drunk uncle who investors think need a babysitter and gets paid too much, supporting neo-Nazi fascists in the U.S. government, who runs the U.S. government. Larry Merlo said he's stepping down this year. He said at the end of last year he
Oh.
stepped down this year. So I'll wait for him to step down and then see who's there, but I wouldn't buy it.
Has
That's my
anyone been
answer.
tapped to replace him?
I've not seen an announcement of who's been tapped. So there's a good question about succession planning. Congratulations, CVS, for having none.
Yeah. They don't do that. They don't do that, Emma. Despite the fact that all of them say that they are tasked with that, they don't do that. They don't do that in America.
So did that sufficiently answer your question?
Yeah, I think it did. I think that it confirmed what I already suspected, which is there isn't an answer to my first question. And the second question is goodbye to that stock.
Oh, Emma.